Hi everyone, it's Saunter Scamper here on Thursday, June 7th, 2018. So what I want to speak with you about today is something called parting systems. So this has to do with the way that your hair is parted into sections when you get your dreadlocks installed. And this video I watched this morning, which I'm going to link to below on the very top link that I put in the description, it's by Phatty, but she, her channel is called, this channel that she's doing this on is called BeSpiffyBeYou. So this video is called Know This Before You Start Locs for Parting Systems. She recorded this in November of 2016, which is after I got my dreadlocks. And so she told me about some options, but she didn't really describe about how that would affect the way that the dreadlocks looked in terms of my scalp showing. So we did talk about a few other options, but it was more kind of like the most basic default she would start with would just be brick pattern, which is sort of like squares or rectangle shapes with straight edges, but just overlap like this a little so that it doesn't look like a straight line down when your dreads part. You wouldn't look like you had a straight part wherever down. So that was what I chose, and we just talked about the sections aspect of it based on like what size I wanted my dreadlocks to be mainly, and what shape maybe would be shown if there was any shape of the scalp parts. So okay, so the main thing I want to tell you about is the reason I think I want to highlight this video for you and direct you to watching it is because I've gotten comments on this channel about how it's even been attributed by negative commenters to the fact that white people shouldn't have dreads because their hair is too not dense enough. But it's not really about that. So if she mentions in this video that if you get one of the 4 parting systems that she kind of goes over, I'm sure there are lots more she said, but there are 4 basic ones she goes over. The second one that she mentions is called brick/grid method, and she says that it is not the best method for people who are concerned about scalp coverage. So yeah, that's what was done on me, and that's why I have like my scalp that shows, especially the first, like when they're really starting to tighten up they're starting to mature and tighten up. My scalp was showing. And even though it was a brick pattern, it was still showing scalp. It wasn't a straight line. It was a straight line and then other straight lines. So she says that this pattern of brick grid, like the locks, it ends up kind of with the locks being somewhat farther apart than some other methods of sectioning. And the one that she says that probably all of us, white people with like, I don't even have the most like thin hair. I have fine hair, but I just don't have like super ultra dense apparently compared to ethnic hair. The kind that she recommends is a different kind that I didn't even know existed. So that's what I want to tell you, because this is I wish I'd known this before I got mine. Not like it's the end of the world. It's just that, you know, we've talked about it. I mean, if you've watched a lot of my videos, especially from around October and November of 2016, that was when it was really tightening up, especially back here at the crown of my head. And then I was noticing, because it was really getting short, you know, I was noticing the scalp showing, and I've never had a problem with like any kind of thinning hair ever. So I was just really frustrated with it, and it was embarrassing for me. I kind of like pull my hair when I had it down, like kind of pull it so that I could sort of like practice pushing it in a certain direction that would probably not show that. Anyway, so I had some commenter or more saying that they said on an earlier video that your hair is too thin to be using to have dreadlocks, and I was like blowing it off, but I kind of thought about it as a thing, like maybe, but like I don't have very fine hair. Also, people that come up to me like in stores and things like that back home in rural Pennsylvania, like really conservative but lower class part of Pennsylvania that I've come from, when I go back there, I don't get, well, and in general, like I don't get compliments on my dreadlocks usually. I get questions, and I get mostly, and this is the case there, I get mostly all different ages and kinds of people telling me that they really want dreadlocks. They wanted them for a while. They wish they could get them, but they have a question for me, which is their hair too thin or fine to would dreadlocks look okay on them, you know? And also people commenting or questioning me on this channel on my videos. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of white people have hair that's a lot less dense than mine, you know? I mean, people that are white a lot of times might have fine, straight hair, but a lot of people that are white have less dense hair than me, you know, densely populated. It's hard for me to use that because most people think thick or thin hair, and really my hair is small, you know, each one, but it's densely populated, so it's kind of thick in that way. That's why I had to have it layered. When I had my hair straight and like not dreadlocked, I would always have to have a lot of layers in it, otherwise it would just be like falling in my face because there was just so much of it, especially at the crown. They would have to like texturize it with the texturizing scissors to thin it out there so it'd have a little bit more volume. So anyway, this video is great. She talks about now the method that I realized I should have gotten, and pretty much most people that don't really want an awesome pattern showing, like a lot of black men want a pattern showing, like a diamond shape, for instance, pattern. They want that, but not all women want that. And white people might not be able to pull it off, you know, because it might not, your hair's probably not as dense. I don't know. So the third one that she speaks of, and she starts talking about it around time 4 minutes and 28 seconds. But I really think you should watch the whole thing, by the way. It's only like 9 minutes and 11 seconds long, the whole video that she made. She calls it the fan/C-shape parting system. Wow. So it's not straight lines. It's like curved. At least there's some curved lines to it. And so, well, I don't know. It just looks like, I mean, she says that is what it does. It makes your hair and your dreads look, when she says thicker, she's not saying like bigger dreads. She's saying it makes your hair look thicker. It doesn't look like it's parting and you see the scalp. It's like, it makes it seem like the dreads are closer together because they're overlapped in really organic ways. I feel like I really need to say this here because the first number one method of sectioning, or what did she say, parting systems, the first one that she talks about at the beginning of the video is called freestyle. Now freestyle, she does also talk about, she doesn't really say the difference between, but she says, well, the freestyle is, it's kind of like when, you know how people are all talking, especially if you look at a lot of dreadlock channels, especially people that have black ethnic hair, but also like white people too talk about this sometimes, which is called free forming, which is basically you don't section your hair, but then there's partial free forming, and I'm not going to go into like the definition of that because I personally think that different people have different definitions of that, so I'm not going to go into it. I didn't want to do partial, I didn't want to do free forming or partial free forming, except to correct my potential scalp coverage issue, which I don't believe actually would help, because so she just says like when you're installing it by the freestyle method, it's kind of like you're just grabbing sections of hair, kind of like if you did it yourself it might turn out that way. Well, she doesn't mention this as a caution, but I will tell you this because I think it's gonna come up with you people out there that don't have a dreadlock salon in your area, which is probably the case for most places in this country of America. Great if you do, but I know lots of people drive 4 hours to get maintenance done or get them installed. You know, it's a big deal. It sometimes costs almost $1,000 to get them installed, period, let alone making a trip where you might even have to like get a hotel overnight because it takes so long. So this is a thing. So when I went into Debbie to get my dreadlocks and the consultation with her, because I had gotten impatient and wanted to do it myself, so I did literally grab parts and sections, and I made some dreads. I had about 5 that I had made. I used the twist and rip method, which by the way doesn't work on fine hair like mine because I did a lot more ripping my hair out from it because my hair couldn't like hold up to it. I don't know, I hadn't dyed it or anything. No one really mentions that about twist and rip. Everyone that's doing it seems to think they're not showing like when they do it, it's like hair's falling off, but that was the case. I was not dyeing my hair. I had not processed my hair in like 8 years when I installed those. So anyway, but the thing she pointed out is that she said that some of them were okay, but at least 2 or 3 of them, she said the hair was pulling from too far away. So even if you don't want it to be perfectly cleaned up sections, perfect lines, it's healthier for your scalp and for the longevity of the base of your dreadlock to have the hair coming from kind of like closer to a circle or like equilateral triangle, equilateral square, rectangle. So closer together, not like having like something like this and then having like a hair coming from way over here and here and here. So if you pull them apart at the root, you know, after maintenance or after you get them installed, if you pull them apart and you see, well, if you look with a mirror on yourself, you'll see like, okay, there's one coming from way over there. And even when you're doing root maintenance for the new growth, I see this and I don't want, because it does create more tension. That's the thing. It's not about how it looks. It's about your scalp, the health of your scalp. When you're a human and you're alive, you're moving around. And also when you're laying down and sleeping or just laying up against something with a backrest, like your car headrest, your dreads are moving. They're not just going straight back. And then if you put them up in different directions, they need to be able to move in different directions and not be putting an unequal amount of tension in any direction when you do that. That's why it worries me when people say they got maintenance done and on their dreads and they have to take medication for the pain and they have a headache and it hurts and it's sore for like a few days. I mean, it's possible that they are tender-headed, which is what Damian Walter calls tender-headed. And it's good to know that about yourself. I'm not tender-headed, for sure. I know that because I never had any problems. But also, they talk about in a different video about like, you know, how much room should be between like your scalp and where the knotting up starts. And it needs to be enough room for your hair to be able to move around properly, or else it's going to start to rip off sooner than it's supposed to shed. So that's why not maintaining it too much or not tightening it up. But when you get it maintained, even if you did it after 4 or 5 months of not having maintenance, if they're doing it so tight, either you're tender-headed, which isn't your fault, and that's just normal to expect, or I believe it means that they tightened it too much. Or also if they did do the new growth maintenance into your dreads, maybe they didn't do it at a good angle, because depending on the angle that you have the dread pulled at when you're incorporating the new growth, depending on that angle, if you put it up or down or goes to the side, it's going to create more tension. So it's kind of like, how do you want your dread to lay? That's why it is sort of good to know when you get your dreads installed, like, where do you want a part? Do you want a part, like a part that is like a straight line kind of, and where do you want it? Because if you do want it like here on the side, for instance, I did, and then like wanted the hair to go over slightly, she knew that she would tension it like that way when she installed them. And also when you're maintaining them, you're going to do that too. You're going to hold the dread that direction while you incorporate the new growth. Or like someone I know, they want theirs to go back. So obviously it's going to fall down with the weight at some point, but they would like it to be sectioned so that it goes straight back. And so that's really something to be aware of even when you're getting maintenance done professionally. You might need to do a little bit of gentle education to your dreadlock specialist, because Debbie is an expert. She's an expert in dreadlocks. She owns a salon. She installs them all the time. So she didn't know this, or at least this wasn't part of our consultation. Our consultation is that right there at the crown was going to show my scalp when it started to mature. And it's still not gone away 100%, even though they've gotten longer. So it's going on 2 years. Most people do not want to have to deal with more awkward appearance while your dreads are maturing than necessary. And for 2 years, with how quickly mine matured, I would say that we could have done better if we had known ahead of time.